The story begins deep inside a massive, mysterious forest. A man is running for his life. He has been running for what feels like hours, desperately searching for a way out. But no matter how far he goes, the forest seems to become thicker and darker. The trees surround him from every direction, making it almost impossible to tell where he came from or where he is going. As the sun slowly begins to disappear behind the trees, the man notices a strange sign. It reads, "Point of no return." Underneath those words is the number 108. The man immediately becomes nervous. He has no idea what the number means, but something about the sign makes him feel that he should turn back. Unfortunately, it is already getting dark. The forest suddenly becomes completely silent. Even the birds disappear. For miles, the man has not seen a single wild animal. It is almost as if every creature in the forest knows something that he doesn't. Terrified, he starts running even faster. But after wandering for hours, something impossible happens. He suddenly arrives at the exact same sign, the same trees, the same number, the same warning. Point of no return 108. The man realizes that he has somehow walked in a circle. Before he can understand what is happening, something suddenly grabs him from behind. We never see what pulled him away. All we hear is his horrifying scream. 3 days later, the story moves to a city. A young woman named Mina works at a pet store. One day, her boss gives her a special delivery job. She has to take a golden parrot to a zoo located far outside the city. Mina accepts the job and places the bird inside her car. She enters the zoo's location interphone and starts driving. At first, everything seems normal, but after leaving the city, Mina notices something disturbing. Along the roadside, there is a large board covered with photographs of missing people. Dozens of people have disappeared in this area. Some of the photographs look very recent. Mina notices them, but she doesn't think too much about it. She continues driving. Eventually, she decides to take a shortcut through the forest. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize that this is the same forest where the man disappeared. As Mina drives deeper into the woods, her phone suddenly loses signal. Her GPS stops working. Then the radio cuts out. She tries restarting everything, but nothing works. Mina decides to turn around, but when she looks back, she realizes that she has no idea which direction she came from. Every tree looks exactly the same. Every path looks identical. Then her car suddenly stops. Mina tries starting the engine again. Nothing. She gets out of the car and looks around. And then she sees something that makes her blood run cold. A sign. Point of no return 108. Mina has no idea what it means. She takes the pair out of the car and begins searching for help. But there is no one around. No houses. No people. No vehicles. Nothing. Eventually, Mina returns to the place where she left her car, but the car is gone, completely gone. Mina is now terrified. She begins wondering whether she somehow walked to a different location. The forest is becoming darker by the minute. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking. Then, without warning, thousands of birds fly away from the trees. Mina freezes. She senses that something is watching her. A moment later, she notices a human figure in the distance. She follows it. But when she reaches a spot, nobody is there. Then she sees a figure again. This time, it is an old woman running through the trees. Mina starts chasing after her. "Please, wait." But the old woman refuses to stop. She keeps running. Mina follows her deeper into forest, and suddenly the old woman disappears. A few moments later, Mina notices a strange building hidden among the trees. The old woman appears again. She opens a door and looks directly at Mina. Then she says, "If you want to stay alive, get inside. Quickly." Mina doesn't have time to think. She runs inside. The old woman immediately locks the door. Inside the building, Mina discovers a large mirror covering one of the walls. There are also 2 other people inside. The old woman introduces herself as Madeleine. The young woman is Kira, and the young man is Daniel. Mina asks him where she is. Madeleine gives her a strange answer. This place is called the Cob. Before Mina can ask anything else, strange sounds begin coming from outside. Something is moving to the darkness. Mina asks what the sounds are. Kiera tells her they are called Watchers. That night, Mina discovers the first rule of the forest: never open the door after dark. The Watchers only come out at night. When morning finally arrives, the creatures disappear. Madeleine explains that during daylight, the survivors who move around the forest relatively safely. Mina immediately decides to search for a way out. She walks through the forest for hours. Eventually, she reaches the top of a mountain. But instead of finding a road, she sees nothing but endless forest stretching in every direction. There is no civilization, no road, no escape. Mina finally sits down, completely defeated. Then someone places a hand on her shoulder. It is Madeleine. Madeleine tells her that Mina isn't the first person who has tried to escape. Everyone who tried eventually failed. She tells Mina that if she wants to survive, she must follow their rules. Madeleine then shows Mina something terrifying. There are dozens of point of no return signs scattered throughout the forest. They form a giant circle around the area. Madeleine explains that the signs were created by a mysterious professor. Nobody knows exactly who he is, but the signs serve as warnings. If someone crosses too many of them, finding a way back becomes almost impossible. Madeleine tells Mina, whenever you see one of those signs, never ignore it. Night comes again. Everyone returns to the safe room. That night, Kiera tries to distract herself by dancing in front of the mirror, but Madeleine warns them that they must never turn their backs toward the mirror at night. The Watchers are watching them from somewhere outside, and if a person turns their back toward them, they become extremely aggressive. The survivors are allowed to move around the room. They can eat, they can sleep, they can talk, but they must never deliberately turn their backs toward the mirror. The next day, Mina goes hunting with Kiera. Mina finally asks what the Watchers actually want. Kiera admits that she doesn't know everything, but Madeleine believes the Watchers are constantly watching them. And if a human looks directly at a Watcher, something terrible happens. The person can lose their sanity. Kiera then shows Mina several enormous holes in the ground. She explains that the Watchers hide inside these underground tunnels during the daytime. They cannot come out in sunlight because sunlight burns their skin. But after sunset, they leave their underground homes and hunt. Kiera then reveals something heartbreaking. She and her husband came into this forest 5 months earlier. They have been trapped ever since. But 6 days ago, her husband went into the forest searching for a way out. He never returned. Mina suddenly realizes something. The man we saw at the beginning of the story was Kiera's husband. He was the person who disappeared after reaching the point of no return sign. And now we know that he is dead. Madeleine then explains 3 important rules for survival. First, never open the door at night. Second, never turn your back toward the mirror. And third, never take anything from the Watchers' underground holes. Mina doesn't completely trust Madeleine. That night, she becomes curious. She presses her ear against a mirror, hoping to hear something from the creatures outside. Nothing happens. Mina begins believing that Madeleine may have invented these rules to control them, so she makes a dangerous mistake. She turns her back toward the mirror and falls asleep. Almost immediately, something slams into glass. The Watchers become furious. They begin hitting the mirror again and again. The entire room shakes from the impact. Madeleine wakes up in terror. She orders Mina to stand facing the mirror. Mina obeys. Slowly, the Watchers calm down. Now everyone understands something important. The Watchers don't simply want to kill them. They believe that humans turning their backs on them is an insult. The next morning, Mina goes into the forest with Daniel. Mina tells him that she doesn't believe Madeleine's stories anymore. She suspects Madeleine is simply trying to keep everyone trapped. Mina suggests that they investigate the underground holes. Maybe one of them contains a tunnel leading outside. Daniel has been trapped in the forest for so long that he is desperate to escape, so he agrees. The two of them find one of the holes. Mina ties a rope around herself and climbs down. Daniel holds the other end. Inside the hole, Mina discovers something shocking. There are belongings everywhere. Clothes, bags, bicycles, cameras, tools, personal items. These objects belong to people who disappeared in the forest. Mina realizes that the Watchers have been collecting things from their victims. Daniel helps pull the objects back to the surface, but before Mina can climb out, she hears something moving below. A Watcher is approaching. Mina desperately tells Daniel to pull her up. The creature reaches toward her, but then sunlight enters the hole. The Watcher's hand touches the light. Its skin immediately begins burning. Daniel pulls Mina out just in time. They return to the safe room with the stolen belongings. Madeleine immediately becomes angry. She knows exactly where the objects came from. She asks Mina what she saw inside the hole. Mina refuses to tell her everything. Instead, she and Daniel decide to do something even more dangerous. They have found a television inside the underground area. Daniel somehow connects it to their room. Their plan is simple. They want to see what the Watchers actually look like. Madeleine desperately tries to stop them, but nobody listens. That night, they sit in front of television. They wait and wait, but nothing appears. Then something strange happens. A figure appears outside the room. It sounds exactly like Kiera's missing husband. The voice begs Kiera to open the door. Kiera becomes emotional. She believes her husband has returned. She rushes toward the door, but Madeleine stops her. Madeleine knows the truth. No normal human could possibly reach their room at night. The voice outside is not Kiera's husband. It is a Watcher. Kiera refuses to believe her. Madeleine tells her to test the creature. She asks Kiera to ask a personal question that only her husband would know. Kiera asks. Silence. The creature has no answer. Now Kiera understands. She almost opened the door to a monster. Madeleine tells everyone to face the mirror. They do. The Watchers eventually leave, but the damage has already been done. Mina finally admits that she and Daniel took the object from the underground hole. Madeleine becomes furious. She tells him that they have broken another important rule. The next morning, Madeleine takes all the stolen belongings and throws them back into the hole. She hopes this will calm the Watchers. But something has changed. The forest begins behaving strangely. People start seeing things that aren't really there. And Daniel seems to be affected the most. He becomes increasingly angry. Finally, he snaps. He grabs Madeleine and ties her to a tree. Daniel tells everyone that he is done following the old woman's rules. From now on, he says, everyone will follow him. But darkness is approaching. They have no safe room anymore. The Watchers will soon emerge. So Mina and the others are forced to hide beneath a huge tree. As night falls, they hear horrifying growls. The Watchers are coming. They slowly emerge from their underground tunnels. They are tall, thin, pale creatures with terrifying movements. They begin searching the forest for humans. Mina and Madeleine hide. Daniel, however, is desperate to reach the safe room. He hears voices calling him. At first, he thinks the others are asking him to open the door. Eventually, he gives in. He opens the door. Mina and Madeleine return to the room. Madeleine is furious with Daniel, but she knows they don't have much time. She finally decides to tell him the truth about the Watchers. Madeleine explains that she first came to this forest years ago. One day, she saw someone that looked exactly like herself. It was a creature trying to copy her appearance. The creature looked almost perfect, but there were small differences in its eyes and hair. That was when Madeleine realized what the Watchers really were. They were not ordinary monsters. They were fairies. Hundreds of years ago, fairies and humans lived alongside one another, but humans eventually became afraid of the fairies' magical abilities. So humans turned against them. Because humans greatly outnumbered the fairies, they were able to defeat them. The fairies were imprisoned underground. They were cursed and forced to remain inside enormous pits beneath the forest. For hundreds of years, they remained trapped. Eventually, they began digging tunnels through the earth. They escaped, but centuries underground had changed them. They lost many of their magical abilities. Sunlight became deadly to them. Their bodies became weak and distorted, but they retained one extremely powerful ability. They could change their appearance. Madeleine explains why the Watchers observe humans every night. They don't simply want to kill people. They want to become human. They study the survivors. They watch how they talk, how they move, how they behave. They are learning everything they need to imitate humans and eventually leave the forest. The Watchers suddenly return. They realize that Madeleine and the others have gone back inside the room. The creatures begin attacking the door. The door starts shaking. It won't hold for long. Everyone knows they are about to die. Then Mina notices something. A heavy table has been pushed against the wall. Underneath it is a metal hatch. They move the table. A large iron door appears. They open it and discover an underground bunker. Inside the bunker are enormous supplies. Food, water, equipment, a computer, everything they could possibly need to survive for months. Mina turns on the computer. There are hundreds of files, and the name appearing throughout the system is Professor Martin. Mina realizes that the mysterious professor created the bunker. He knew about the creatures. He had been studying them. He even paid other people to come into the forest and help him with his research. Mina begins watching recorded videos. Professor Martin explains that during his research, he discovered something unusual. One particular fairy was different. Unlike the others, it could leave the underground holes even during daylight. It could also perfectly imitate a human child. Professor Martin captured the creature. He planned to perform experiments on it, but something went terribly wrong. Another recording appears. Professor Martin sounds frightened. He says that he's made a terrible mistake. He tells whoever finds the recordings to take his research to the university. If they manage to escape, then he leaves the room. Seconds later, 2 gunshots are heard. Everyone realizes what happened. Professor Martin killed the fairy, and then he killed himself. Mina and the others now know that this bunker is their only chance. The next morning, they leave the bunker, but their safe room has been completely destroyed by the Watchers. They have no place to hide anymore. They must escape before nightfall. The group begins moving to the forest. They remember Professor Martin's research. They know that some creatures become active at sunset, so they must reach the outside world before darkness returns. Eventually, they reach a river, and there, they discover something unbelievable. A boat. It belongs to Professor Martin. For the first time in days, they believe they might actually survive. But just as they are about to leave, they hear someone calling for help. They turn around. It is Kiera's husband. He is badly injured. Kiera immediately wants to save him. Daniel goes back to help. He manages to pull the injured man toward the boat. But the situation becomes extremely dangerous. Darkness is approaching. The Watchers are coming. The group has no choice but to leave. Eventually, 3 survivors reach the city. For the first time, they are finally free. But Mina remembers Professor Martin's final request. She must take his research to the university. So Mina goes there. She prepares to delete the dangerous research data. But before she does, she discovers an old tape recorder. She plays a recording, and the truth becomes even more disturbing. Professor Martin explains that hundreds of years ago, humans and fairies did not simply live together. They also had children. These children were known as halflings. They possessed traits from both species. But halflings had one special ability. They could change their appearance so perfectly that they could even imitate dead humans. Professor Martin believes that when humans imprisoned the fairies underground, some halflings escaped. They began hiding among humans, and they may still be living among humans today. Mina suddenly remembers Madeleine. She remembers how much Madeleine knew about the forest, how easily she understood the Watchers, and how she always seemed to know exactly what they wanted. Mina begins researching Professor Martin's photographs. Then she discovers something horrifying. In one of the photographs, Professor Martin is standing beside a woman. That woman is Madeleine. Mina realizes that Madeleine was actually Professor Martin's wife. But if Madeleine was his wife, why did she pretend she knew nothing about him? Mina returns to Kiera and reveals what she has discovered. Then they realize the horrifying truth. Madeleine is not human. She is a halfling. She is the creature Professor Martin was researching. But Madeleine isn't the only one hiding a secret. A car arrives. A woman steps out. Mina freezes. It is Kiera. But this doesn't make sense. Kiera is already standing beside her. Then the truth is revealed. The Kiera who escaped with Mina was actually Madeleine. She had taken Kiera's appearance. The real Kiera was left behind. Madeleine finally reveals everything. She says that she had always been different. The other fairies treated her like an outsider because she was a halfling. She wanted to escape the forest and live among humans. So she made a deal with Professor Martin. She would take the appearance of his wife, and he would help her leave the forest. But Professor Martin eventually discovered what she really was. He tried to kill her. Instead, Madeleine killed him first. Now she tells Mina that humans can never be trusted. She plans to kill Mina and take her appearance. Then she will live among humans forever. Madeleine attacks. She grabs Mina by the throat. Mina struggles desperately. But then she remembers something from Professor Martin's research. She realizes Madeleine has one major weakness. She is not a full fairy. She is a halfling. Half human, half fairy. That means she can survive in daylight. Mina tells her, "You don't have to live alone." Madeleine hesitates. Mina explains that there are probably other halflings living among humans. People just like her. She doesn't have to become someone else. She doesn't have to kill anyone. For the first time, Madeleine begins questioning everything she's believed. Her body starts changing. Her human appearance begins disappearing. Wings suddenly emerge from her back. Her true fairy form is finally revealed. Madeleine looks at Mina one last time. Then she flies away. The story ends with Mina watching her disappear into the distance. Weeks later, life has returned to normal. But Mina now knows the truth. The forest wasn't just home to monsters. It was hiding an ancient civilization. And some of those creatures may have already escaped. They may be living among humans right now, watching us, learning from us, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And that means the real danger may not have ended in the forest. It may have only just begun. If you enjoyed this movie explanation, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification for more mysterious and terrifying stories.